Welcome to the Deep Dives, where we try to make sense of it all. And the pace of change in AI right now, it's just incredible, isn't it? Every week seems like there are huge breakthroughs, new challenges, things really reshaping how we use technology. Today, we're doing a deep dive into, well, a whole bunch of fascinating sources. They all point to these huge shifts happening in artificial intelligence. We're really going to focus on OpenAI's big moves lately and, the ripple effects that are spreading out everywhere.
Absolutely. And our mission, really, for you listening, is pretty straightforward. We want to unpack all these updates, pull out the really important bits, the nuggets of knowledge, if you will, and give you kind of shortcut to understanding what it all means. For the future of AI, sure, but also, what does it mean for you? For your work, maybe even your day-to-day.
Okay, let's jump right in. The biggest splash seems to be OpenAI unveiling these GPT-OSS models. Now, OpenAI, they usually keep things pretty locked down, right?
Yeah.
So what are these models exactly? Why is this such a big deal now?
Yeah, that's the key question. It is a big deal. What's really striking here is OpenAI releasing these GPT-OSS models. There's a 20 billion, 120 billion parameter version. And the crucial part, they've released them with open weights under an Apache 2.0 license. I mean, this is genuinely their first open weight release since way back with GPT-2. So yeah, it's a pretty monumental shift for them. It really signals a move towards more transparency, more accessibility. And that changes the game for a lot of people, developers, businesses.
Right, a really different direction for OpenAI. So let's get practical. What can these things actually do? What are the capabilities we're talking about that make them stand out?
Well, they're strong on reasoning, which is key. And they have what's called advanced agentic tool use.
Agentic tool use, meaning?
Meaning they can actually plan and carry out complex tasks by using other tools, like connecting to a web browser to look something up, or maybe interacting with your calendar. It's not just generating text. They've also gone through pretty robust safety analyses, which OpenAI is highlighting. But the real insight, I think, is how accessible they are. You can use them via an API, sure, but you can also just download the model directly.
They're up on Hugging Face, GoKline, popular platforms. Honestly, this feels like a watershed moment for large language models because it's bringing nearly state-of-the-art reasoning, coding ability, that tool use, out to the wider AI community. It really fosters transparency, helps with reproducibility and research, and just makes powerful AI much more globally accessible than we've seen from OpenAI in quite a while.
Okay, that accessibility is huge. But you
Yeah.
mentioned clever engineering. That's what really makes this work, right? The tech under the hood. Can you walk us through some of that? Absolutely. That's where it gets really interesting, technically speaking. These models use some sophisticated stuff, like mixture of experts architectures MOE. OpenAI is using a particularly efficient version. It's called an INSIM-based MOE implementation. They also use something called learned attention sinks.
Okay, technical terms, but what do they do?
Right, sorry. Basically, these are clever engineering tricks that make the models incredibly efficient. They can perform at a really high level, even sometimes with fewer parameters than you'd expect, or on less powerful hardware, which ties back to that accessibility point. And for researchers, this is interesting. They've even exposed some raw model internals, like bias units in the attention mechanism. Gives more opportunity for deep inspection. Performance-wise, the GPT-OSS 20B model, it holds its own against much larger models and really shines in coding and tasks needing long contexts. It's even competitive with very recent releases like Claude Opus 4.1 and some models coming out of labs in China.
Wow. So powerful and efficient. What does that actually mean for, say, a developer or a small business wanting to use AI? How does this democratization really play out for them?
It translates into much faster integration, whether you're running it locally or in the cloud. And that's thanks to these deep partnerships OpenAI has forged with companies like Hugging Face, Ollama, LM Studio, Grok, AWS, NVIDIA. The list goes on. So you're seeing almost instant integration into platforms people are already using. Hugging Face, T3 Chat, Grok, LangChain. It dramatically lowers the barrier to entry. That's the democratization part. They've also included specific features that help, like efficient quantization using something called MXFP4.
Quantization, making the model smaller, run
Yeah.
faster.
Exactly. Means these powerful models can run pretty effectively even on hardware that isn't top of the line. Makes them much more practical for wider use. Plus, there are user options to adjust how much reasoning effort the model uses, and even interfaces to kind of inspect the model's inner monologue as it works. And it's not just dropping the models and running. There's active support, like the Open Model Hackathon backed by Hugging Face, NVIDIA, and OpenAI. They really want people to build with this.
It's really clear they want these models used, but it's not just about the big language models, is it? Feels like every week there are other fascinating AI tools popping up. What else caught your eye this week?
Oh, absolutely. The ecosystem is booming. We're seeing a wave of really impactful new tools, often designed for broader use cases. Like Grok debuted Imagine. It's a mobile tool for Android, lets you generate videos and images right there on your phone.
Video on the phone. That's moving fast.
It is. And then there's Modular. They introduced this incredibly compact GenAI GPU server solution. Get this, it's under 700 megabytes. Tiny. But they claim high performance and scalable batch inference for big AI tasks.
Under 700 megs for a GPU server. That is genuinely efficient. Wow.
Right. And on the evaluation side, there's a new straightforward open source framework. It helps developers check how consistent and context-aware their chat-style LLM apps are, looking beyond just, single turn accuracy. And for something completely different, Google DeepMind showed off Genie 3.
Genie 3, what's that?
It takes text prompts and turns them into interactive playable worlds, like mini-games generated from text.
Okay, interactive worlds from text. That's a big leap from just static images.
Yeah.
Where else is AI showing up in new ways?
Well, Adobe Photoshop has a new AI tool, does instant restoration of old photos. Amazing for, preserving family history. Alibaba integrated an AI trip planner into its mapping app, makes planning travel much more intuitive. And for businesses, Meltwater launched something called GenAI Lens. It helps brands track their presence, their reputation across the big AI platforms, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, which is becoming pretty crucial for brand management now.
So AI isn't just for creating content, it's also for evaluating it, restoring old stuff, planning trips, even monitoring brand perception. Any other quick mentions?
Yeah, just briefly. The Harmony Chat and RL training format was open source, which helps with standardizing some training processes. And Mithril rolled out its Omnicloud GPU platform, specifically aimed at handling advanced AI workloads. So yeah, it's a really diverse landscape of innovation just this week.
It really is striking how AI is popping up in so many different spots. Photo restoration, trip planning, gaming. It underlines that these technical breakthroughs aren't just happening in labs. They're creating these really powerful ripples across industries, society, even global stuff. What are some of the biggest shifts you're seeing, maybe starting with industry and economics?
Yeah, connecting it to the bigger picture, industrially, economically. These open weight models like GPT-OSS, they're probably going to commoditize some of the older AI tech. And you see it spurring these national initiatives towards what people are calling sovereign AI, basically countries wanting their own independent AI capabilities. On the finance side, global M&A, mergers and acquisitions surged to like $2.6 trillion recently. And a significant chunk of that was fueled by huge AI deals. Like OpenAI's reported $40 billion funding round. The money flowing in is just massive.
And the impact on jobs. Yeah, there have been some pretty stark warnings floating around.
Indeed. Some reports are warning that AI could automate maybe up to 50% of roles at big consulting firms, places like Deloitte, KPMG. Now, that's a projection, but it highlights this profound challenge for the workforce, for retraining, for how professional services might be structured in the future. But it's not all about replacement. You see companies like D-Tools getting $12 million to bring AI into the construction industry. Shows AI reaching into very physical sectors. And look at LegalZoom. Their stock jumped after they announced they were integrating OpenAI's ChatGPT. Shows how existing businesses can leverage AI for, immediate market reaction.
Huge economic signals there. Okay, let's shift gears. Security and regulation. With things moving so fast, how is this being managed or maybe challenged? Safety, governance, what's happening?
Well, regulation is definitely trying to catch up. You've got the EU AI Act coming soon. That's putting a regulatory spotlight specifically on general-purpose models, the big foundational ones. That's a major step in global AI governance. On the business side, for enterprises, you're seeing things like LangGraph and Langsmith achieving SOC2 Type 2 compliance.
SOC2. That's about data security trust.
Exactly. It's a rigorous audit, shows a very high level of security and trust in how they handle data. Really crucial if big companies are going to adopt these tools.
And with all these models being shared, especially open ones, what about the security of the AI supply chain itself? Like, are the models safe?
That's a huge and critical area. Hugging Face and Cisco, for instance, they've teamed up to integrate advanced malware scanning. They're using tools like ClamAV and something called the Cerberus system to vet, get this, nearly 1.9 million AI models hosted on Hugging Face.
Wow, 1.9 million. That's a massive undertaking.
It is. Trying to ensure the integrity of that ecosystem. But it's a constant battle. Just recently, a serious vulnerability was found in a popular AI coding tool. Could allow remote code execution, which is bad. And NVIDIA had to rush out fixes for critical security flaws in its Triton inference server. That affects big users like Amazon and Microsoft. But on the flip side, AI can also help with security. Google has this tool called Big Sleep AI. It autonomously found 20 security vulnerabilities in various open source projects, so AI is a defender too.
That's a fascinating duality. AI is a risk, but also a potential solution. What about the more deliberate misuse, like AI for deception, deepfakes, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a rapidly growing concern. The market for AI deception tools, deepfakes, adversarial AI, it's forecast to just explode from around $639 million this year, predicted to hit $4 billion by 2031.
$4 billion, that's
Yeah.
quite a leap.
It's a stark warning, isn't it? It signals this escalating threat to, information integrity, public trust. We need urgent countermeasures from governments, tech platforms, everyone, really. You're also seeing debates around things like Cloudflare blocking AI bots and fundamental questions about how AI agents should operate online within the law. And investment is flowing into defense, too. A company called Approve raised £5 million specifically to bolster mobile app security against AI threats.
So the security landscape is incredibly dynamic. That brings us to the ethical and societal side, which feels just as complex. What are the big concerns or developments there?
Well, you see companies starting to react to potential downsides. OpenAI, for example, they've introduced break reminders in ChatGPT and new safeguards trying to reduce user overdependence, ensure safer interactions. They're actually hiring clinical experts and, interestingly, adjusting the AI to offer maybe less emotional support where it might be unhealthy, encouraging healthier habits.
That sounds surprisingly responsible, acknowledging the psychological impact.
It does. But not everyone's getting positive press, right? Meta is facing pretty intense backlash right now. Concerns that its AI assistant might be sharing user data by default, potentially exploiting Android vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
It highlights that constant tension, innovation versus user privacy.
Right, and that tension can even break partnerships.
Apparently so. Anthropic, a major competitor, reportedly halted its Claude API collaboration with OpenAI. The reason cited, mounting tensions over data privacy and ethical AI use. That significant ethics driving major business decisions between rivals.
That is a big deal. What about broader society, education, global stuff?
Well, on a very human level, there was this story about a student in Kerala who built an AI device called Talk to Write. It basically transforms spoken words into handwritten homework.
Oh, wow. I can see the debate already.
Exactly. Sparked huge debates about academic integrity, the role of AI in education, how do we define learning, how do we assess it now? And on the global stage, reports indicate China is using advanced AI to craft and spread highly targeted propaganda. That raises serious concerns about information integrity, potential manipulation on a massive scale.
Those are really profound challenges. Okay, let's switch to competition. The race is definitely on. What's happening in the AI talent war and just the overall competitive landscape? It feels fierce.
Fierce is the word. OpenAI's growth is just undeniable. ChatGPT is apparently nearing 700 million weekly users. The company valuation is pegged around $300 billion. And they're not slowing down. GPT-5 is supposedly launching around August 2025. The promises are huge. PhD-level reasoning, unified AI features, video processing built in, even an Aura AI browser. It sounds like a major leap.
So they're setting a high bar. How are competitors like Google responding?
Google's pushing hard with Gemini. They're integrating it into Notebook LM to create these context-aware research tools and rolling out something called DeepThink aimed at small businesses. So trying to compete on practical applications, too.
It's like an arms race in capabilities, even spilling into unexpected areas.
Absolutely. You even saw Google, DeepMind, and Kaggle host this landmark AI chess tournament. It featured models from DeepMind, OpenAI, Anthropic, basically pitting different AI approaches against each other on a classic complex task. And that AI talent war you mentioned, it's absolutely real. Companies like Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI, they're reportedly offering 9-figure compensation packages to lure top researchers.
9 figures, that's incredible. Shows how valuable that top-tier expertise is.
It really does. And maybe a sign of the times, the CEO of GitHub basically urged developers adopt AI tools like Copilot, or you risk becoming obsolete. The message is adapt or get left behind.
A stark warning indeed. Finally, just quickly, what about governments? Are they starting to adopt these tools more formally?
Yes, that's happening too. The U.S. government has officially approved OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic as vendors. Federal agencies can now procure services from them. It signals a growing trust, or at least a willingness, to integrate advanced AI into public sector work.
Okay, Putting all this together, the open models, the new tools, the economic shifts, security, ethics, this intense competition, it really raises a big question for everyone listening. How do you think these diverse impacts will shape the next few years for you? Personally, professionally? It's certainly a lot to think about as we navigate all this. So to kind of wrap up our deep dive today, we've touched on this huge surge in open source AI, especially OpenAI's GPT-OSS models shaking things up. We've seen an explosion of new tools, new applications, AI weaving itself into, well, almost everything. And we've talked about the profound ripple effects, the societal shifts, the tricky ethical questions, and that incredibly intense competition defining this moment.
Yeah, zooming out, the bigger picture is pretty clear, I think. The speed of AI development, perfectly shown by something like GPT-OSS. It's fundamentally changing how we deal with information, how we create things, how we work, even how we govern. And those discussions around ethics, security, access, they're just as crucial as the tech breakthroughs themselves. They really shape not just what AI can do, but how it's going to impact all of us.
So here's a final thought to maybe chew on as we close out. As AI keeps spreading, becoming more accessible, getting into every corner of our lives, what are the new ways humans and AI might collaborate that could unlock truly unprecedented value? And maybe more importantly, what responsibilities fall on each of us, whether we're users, developers, policymakers, to make sure this evolution is not just powerful, but also hopefully profoundly positive?